Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
We're all ready to move forward. It's not about those two guys, what happens with that. We're going to play regardless. We're just excited to, get back out on the field, be together, and grow as a team.
I don't think there's any noise. I think the only noise that there is what the media makes it. Ultimately, there's not really a big deal within in-house. All we're focused on is fall camp.
Always the media's fault. I don't see them turning down any opportunity to be on ESPN 1, 2, 3, 4, how many ESPNs there are. But, yeah, put it off on the media. But Ross Pierce-Baker is right. It's about the team, not about the quarterbacks. Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris, and we have got, once again this week, Pepsi, 0 sugar, max taste, 0 calories. I think we can all get on board with that. And I know I can, because Lord knows I don't need too many calories. It's been a long day, Rodney. I tell you what, that tastes good. All right. Football players met with the media today ahead of practice. Of course, the quarterbacks did come up. So did Jalen Hurt's comments from this past Saturday. In case you missed it, here is what Jalen had to say during Alabama's Media Day session inside Bryant-Denny Stadium.
This whole spring, ever since the game, they kind of wanted to let it play out. They kind of, I guess, didn't think it was a thing or tried to let it die down like it wasn't something there. There's always been an elephant in the room. And it's like for me, no one came up to me the whole spring, coaches included. No one asked me how I felt. No one asked me what was on my mind. No one asked me, how I felt about the things that were going on. Nobody asked me what my future entailed, and that's that. So now it's like when we try and kind of handle the situation now, for me, it's kind of late. It's too late. The narrative has already been created.
Jalen's comments set off a national conversation, but meanwhile, Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa and the other quarterbacks continue to practice as if there is no distraction. As for Coach Saban, he'll meet with reporters tomorrow evening after practice, and certainly he'll address the situation. How he handles it, what he says, we'll have to find out. But here's what he said on Saturday before Jalen's comments.
I think these things have to be made at a little higher level based on a set of circumstances relative to consistency in performance, other players believing in leadership, a lot of factors that come into that as a coaching staff, not just me, we have to make a determination as to how we should play the quarterbacks.
And he's determining that. Now, I've seen things like Jalen threw his coaches under the bus. Jalen made it all about him. Coach Saban did say he did not want the quarterbacks bringing attention to themselves or their families bringing attention to them. Certainly Jalen did that. But I don't think he threw anybody under the bus. That's not the way I took it. He had something to say. He said it. I think he's back at practice now trying to win a job.
Yep. They're not going to allow it to affect them. There's no question about that. I do think, Gary, when you look at it, you have to kind of wonder what was the purpose of the comments. I mean, I really don't understand where it's helpful to him, nor is it really helpful to the team. But at the same time, it's not going to affect them.
Here's what we do know. There's a quarterback competition between Jalen Hurts, who's a 2-year starter, 26-2, nearly 8,000 total yards. The SEC Offensive Player of the Year is a true freshman, the first player to do that since Herschel Walker. I think people forget that. Tua Tagovailoa, who when he played last year was dynamic, not just in the national championship game, but all throughout the year. He made incredible plays. Then at halftime of that national championship game, he came in and had one of the most memorable performances in Alabama football history. So you've got an established starter on one hand, a dynamic passer on the other, an incredible athlete in Jalen Hurts, a very nice athlete in Tua Tagovailoa. So again, I have said this consistently. What a lot of people are trying to paint as a problem, I'm not going to let it be that, in my opinion. I think Nick Saban will handle it. Alabama's blessed to have two dynamic quarterbacks. They'll go with the one that gives them the best chance to win. I think that's what Nick Saban does every year, regardless of who the quarterbacks are. He goes with the quarterback that he thinks gives the team the best opportunity to win games. Correct?
Correct. Now, when you look at it, you have to say, what does Alabama play for? Championships. All right, so you have to figure out which guy gives you the best opportunity to win a championship. You've got all these five-star receivers. You've struggled in the passing game with Jalen Hurts. Tua Tagovailoa has the ability to spread the field, throw the ball consistently. Now, the question is, can Jalen Hurts make the improvements needed over the course of camp to convince the coaching staff that he is now a complete quarterback? And I think that's where we are. You have to be able to distribute the football. Nick Saban made that clear, and I think that's the big thing. You have all these weapons. You've got to be able to attack the whole field against these better teams, and I think right now that's where Tua has the advantage.
If Jalen does it, then he's most likely not going to be the quarterback. I'm with you on that. But for those people who seem to insinuate that Coach Saban would play Jalen for some reason other than he thinks he's the best player, I'm not buying that. I don't think if Jalen Hurts were to win the job, I think it would be because Nick Saban believes he's the best guy for the job. I don't think he's going to put him out there just because he's been a two-year starter.
No, I agree with you. I think that if he puts him out there, he would feel that he gives this team, with the players on this team, maybe the best opportunity to win. And again, I'm not making a case for either one of them. What I'm saying is, when you look at what you're trying to achieve, which guy gives you the best opportunity to do that? That's the question.
And if it is Tua, I think he'll be the quarterback against Louisville. And if it's Jalen, I think he'll be the quarterback. It is yet to be determined. I know people don't want to hear that, but that's what Nick Saban has said consistently. We'll hear from the coach tomorrow. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, more fall camp discussion. What are the other topics dominating the first four practices other than the QBs? Plus, Avery Johnson adds another recruit to the upcoming basketball signing class. We'll have the details. And coming up, we'll welcome your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information on the screen. Interact with Tider Insider TV right now. Go ahead and give us a call so you can get through 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or email us, TITV@WVUA23.com, or tweet at us using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV will return after this timeout.
I think when you're in a position of leadership, you always want to be somebody that somebody can emulate and care enough about somebody else to help them for their benefit. And that not only goes for the football program and the football team, but it also goes for folks in the community. And we always choose to try to help young kids do that.
Boy, does he ever. And he and Miss Terry, it's amazing. Nick Saban at the annual Nick's Kids Charity Luncheon last week inside the North Zone at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Nick's Kids has raised right around $8 million since it came to Tuscaloosa when the Sabans arrived in January of 2007. And during the giveaway luncheon last week, the foundation raised right around $500,000 to give to various children's organizations. I'm going to give him a smattering of applause there. That's big time. There's John Parker Wilson, you know. So it was great, Rodney. It really was. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. Well, the quarterbacks, believe it or not, aren't the only storyline that we're looking at during fall camp here on TITV. In fact, Alabama's trying to develop a rotation and depth at every position, particularly on defense. Rodney, quite honestly, the offense has a lot more returning players, a lot more depth. On the defense, there are question marks really all along the board. Let's start with the linebackers, because I really think when you've got Jennings, Miller, Moses, and Wilson, I'd put those four up against any four in the country. But after that, there are concerns.
Could you imagine if Terrell Lewis was in the bunch?
And
wow.
He may be back. But but after those four, there's concerns there, Rodney.
There are, but you've got some young players. You've got Chris Allen, who can play inside and play outside. You've got to really hope on the inside, though, where there's some depth issues. You've got to hope that Markel Benton, the redshirt freshman, steps up. You may have to rely on a true freshman, Jalen Moody. Obviously, Josh McMillan's been around a while, so Christian Miller's also working some inside as well. But some young outside players that are really exciting. Jerez Parks was here during the spring. He was a gray shirt last year, so he's a freshman. You look at true freshman Ayabi Anoma, who I thought was the best. I like him. Yeah, buddy. I thought he was the best high school pass rusher in the country last year out of Baltimore. You know, Gary obviously has some things to learn. but I think he's a real talent. And also, I tell you, a guy that's really caught my attention with his athletic abilities, Cameron Latu. He is another freshman from the state of Utah. And Gary, at 6'5", 250, the way both he and Anoma can drop in coverage, turn, run, have some skills catching the ball. They're impressive.
And, of course, because of the vicinity to Gordo and the fact that his dad is the all-time leading tackler at Alabama, Ben Davis, we get a lot of questions. He's still just a redshirt sophomore. Is this the season that he can make an impact on that defense somewhere?
Well, not to mention he is the most asked about player in the history. Yeah. I know that for a fact. But Ben Davis, again, working inside, working outside again. So he's kind of trying to still find that niche. Again, let's remember he's a redshirt sophomore. Not all guys develop at the same pace. So we'll see what happens.
Look how long it took Ryan Anderson.
Yeah.
And he's in the NFL, but it took him a while. So don't give up on Ben Davis. Up front on defense again, Raekwon Davis, Isaiah Buggs, Quentin Williams. These are big-time players. Where will the backup depth come from up front?
From one guy they brought in, Tavita Musaika, the JUCO player. I think he's an interior guy, obviously. He's a guy that probably on the nose. And then just two young guys that are, well, first of all, LeBron Ray. He's a rising sophomore. He's going to be a great player eventually, Gary. I think he's going to be, as you start to look forward, he'll be one that down the road is going to be one of those All-American types. I think when you look also, two young guys, redshirt freshman Fadarian Mathis, and then true freshman Stephon Wynn. Those are two guys, when I look at them physically and look how much they've progressed and developed over the last 6-8 months, I think they've come a long way. And I'm going to say this too, and I think Carl Dunbar did a great job. So that's not what I'm saying. But I think Coach Kulagowski, Craig Kulagowski, is going to do a fantastic job developing these defensive linemen. He's got a great reputation for doing that, and I think he's going to do a really good job.
And the secondary, of course, is replacing 6 guys. We got a tweet from a viewer about the secondary. We'll get into that later, but that's an area where everybody's going to be new for the most part. Deontay Thompson and a couple of those guys have played some, but basically a new secondary. All right, let's move on to some basketball. The Alabama Crimson Tide picked up another commitment last week from 4-star shooting guard Jalen Forbes out of Florence, Mississippi. He committed to the Tide not long after Deontay Smith out of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, decommitted. So Alabama's back to 2 commitments for the 2019-20 signing class, and Alabama's number 8 nationally. So, again, they're looking good there, continuing to add talent, and coming off an NCAA tournament appearance, Alabama basketball is moving in the right direction. And we got to talk about Justin Thomas. It's unbelievable. 25 years old. He's having a magical career. He became the winningest former Alabama golfer ever on the PGA Tour with 9 wins, surpassing Jerry Pate, who he was tied with 8. His 9th career victory was a big one. The World Golf Championship Bridgestone Invitational at Akron, Ohio over the weekend. He's now number 2 in the FedEx Cup standings, which he won last year. Number 2 in the official World Golf rankings, and he'll defend his PGA Championship at Bellerive in St. Louis beginning on Thursday. Well, still to come, the first Alabama fall sport starts competition this week. It's the other football, soccer. Around the country, they call that football. Here we call it soccer. We'll hear from Bama head coach Wes Hart. And next, we'll get to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information right there on your screen on how you can get in touch with us. Let us hear from you, Tider Insider Nation. You don't have to agree, but you are allowed to sound off. Call us. We'll be back with phone calls and more coming up next on TITV.
It's nice to finally have the players back here on campus and actually get kind of put into play some of the things that we've been talking about as a coaching staff all summer long. So we're certainly excited to get going, and today we'll see what we can do.
Alabama women's soccer is looking to build on a solid 2017 campaign. Alabama made the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2011. The Tide has an exhibition against Tennessee this Friday, so soccer is back. All right, we're back as well. Gary Harris, Rodney Orr. Let's go to the phone line. Stephen is first up in Northport. Hey, Stephen, how you doing, man?
Hey, guys. Hey, first of all, way to go, Justin. Hey, guys, y'all shirts look so good and ties every week.
Man, I appreciate that.
You out. Hey, I got a 2-part question. The young man Pierce, offensive tackle, he was trustful, the 6'5", 281. Yep. Is Alabama interested in him at all? And second of all, let's knock out the big boys. Alabama, Georgia, Florida, LSU, A&M. Who's doing the best recruiting job other than them for the 2019 season?
Okay, Stephen, real quickly, you talking about Pierce Quick? Is that who you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's committed to Alabama. A long-time commit, Rodney. In fact, one of the stalwarts of the class, and doing an excellent job on social media of recruiting other top prospects.
Yeah, 5-star player by some, according to some. Yeah, one of the top offensive linemen in the country. Yeah.
And who are some of the other schools that are doing well?
Well, he mentioned them. Georgia certainly is doing extremely well, which you would expect, and also Jimbo Fisher's doing a fantastic job at Texas A&M. Look, there's no reason why you shouldn't recruit well at Texas A&M. I mean, that state's loaded with players. And I think right now the Aggies are all on the same page. You know, I spent 25, 30 years out there. I know how the Aggies kind of operate, and they're all on the same page right now.
I'm glad Jimbo got there this year, not last year. They might have gotten Jalen Waddle.
Well, they might have.
They're going to regret not getting him. I got a feeling he's at Alabama. All right, let's get to a tweet. This is from Goal Line Stan. Which Bama players have looked solid at playing the cornerback and safety position? Who will step up and play in nickel and dime formations? Let's start with the secondary. As I said, you lose 6 guys back there, so the race is on to replace every position. The good news is Trayvon Diggs has started some in the past. Savion Smith has SEC experience in terms of being a former LSU player, and Deontay Thompson's back with a lot of experience in safety. Who are some guys that are looking to plug in that secondary?
Well, I like those guys. I really do. I think when you look at Diggs and you look at Savion Smith, I think they have a lot of talent at that corner position. Very athletic players, highly recruited. You look at Deontay Thompson. He started the last 2 games, Clemson and Georgia last year. And, you know, Gary, I thought Hootie Jones did a great job, but Deontay Thompson is really a guy that I think is going to add some athleticism back on that back end. And also Xavier McKinney, a young player that's a sophomore. I think he'll do an outstanding job if he can kind of solidify himself as the other safety. But I tell you a guy that I think appears to be having a good camp. Now, we don't know because Nick Saban hasn't really laid it out to us yet, and we're limited in terms of our media viewing. But what opportunities we have had, I really like Shaheem Carter. I think he's seems to be doing an excellent job at that star position. Had a couple of picks in Saturday's workout. Now, you know that they've got a lot of young players. Right. You've got Patrick Surtain, Joshua Jobe, Jalen Armour-Davis. Those 3 guys are extremely versatile, very talented. Eddie Smith is working back at the safety spot. He's another true freshman. So when you look at it, I think they've got a lot of talent. It's just a matter of getting some experience and developing those guys.
And as far as the nickel and dime packages, I mean, we're just talking about trying to get a starting secondary. It's probably a little early.
And again, Shy Carter probably at the star position. We'll see. Maybe Surtain works in a spot there. But again, they are working a lot of guys. You've got some holdovers that we didn't even mention, like Jared Maiden. You know, he's a guy that's certainly in the mix. So they've got a lot of players.
All right, coming up, our Green Track Bama Bingo Trivia Question of the Week. And more of your phone calls. 205-348-9882 is the number. We'll be back with more from you, Tider Insider Nation, right after this timeout. Time for our Green Track Bama Bingo Trivia Question of the Week. Go to our Facebook page for a chance to win. Here is the question. Who holds the Alabama record for rushing touchdowns in a season? Man, look at these choices. Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, and Sean Alexander. They all got it into the end zone a lot in particular seasons, but one did it more than the others. You can answer the question on WVOA 23's Facebook page for an opportunity to win a Green Track Bama Bingo free play power pack. Get to our Facebook page for your opportunity to win now. You want to say something, Rodney?
Well, I was going to ask you, you know, 20 years ago, believe it or not, it's already been 20 years ago, 1998, the season opener against Brigham Young. 5 touchdowns for Sean Alexander.
Number 37, yeah. All right, let's get right back to the phone lines. Sammy was with us in Walker County. Hey, Sammy.
Hey, Gary, Rodney. Great show. Great job, guys.
Thanks.
Rodney, how about the player out there at the University of Washington that has transferred with Alabama, inside linebacker? Will they pursue him, or you know any info on him?
Yeah. Sammy, you know, last year I really thought he might end up here. Actually, he was in this last class. He'd be a true freshman.
Right.
He'd be a part of this class. So I thought he might, and then he committed to Washington. You're talking about Brandon Cahoe. He's a 5-star linebacker according to some of those rating services. He's got an unconditional release from the University of Washington, so he can transfer out. And Gary, I think he can play here. Yeah.
All right,
and I think Alabama. I do think Alabama's in a good position there, but we'll have to see how.
All right, we'll try to get call in real quickly. Fuller in Birmingham. Fuller, go fast, man.
Yeah, how you doing? I just want to say, it don't matter to me which quarterback start. But you have to be careful what you wish for. I'm going to say something I hadn't heard anyone else say. Is they prepare for whichever quarterback starts. So if whichever quarterback starts, that's the one they prepare for. That's for the other guy, he gets free hand. So you have to look at that.
All right, folks. Good comments, my friend. Real quickly, let's try to get Rand here in Tuscaloosa. Rand, got about 30 seconds. What's on your mind?
All right, Gary, this is directed towards you. You were talking when you started the program about all the misinformation that's going around, and everybody was blaming the press for this, that, and the other. And you started talking about, well, people are saying this and people are saying that. Where is the misinformation coming from?
All right, I didn't catch all of your question. Can somebody else was talking to me in my ear? I said something about misinformation.
Well, in your opening comments, when you said that the media is always the blame.
Yeah, I thought that's what Damian Harris was saying, that blame it on the media, and I just said, yeah, the media always takes the hits here. I don't know that there's any misinformation out there, Rand. As far as he said what he said, you heard his comments. So again, I didn't catch everything you said, so I'll just leave it at that. Jalen Hurts can speak for himself. Well, coming up, we are going to hear about A.J. McCarron. He has more on his plate than just football. We'll be back with that next. A.J. McCarron and his wife, Catherine Webb McCarron, are expecting again. The former Alabama quarterback and his bride announced via Instagram that they will have another son. McCarron and Webb have been married for 4 years and already have a 2-year-old. You see him right there. McCarron said they have a December due date, and hopefully A.J. will be getting ready for a December date with the playoffs in the NFL. All right, that is going to do it for the show. Before we get out of here, though, we do want to tell you about the Locker Room, man. Home of the original elephant wear and so much more. Get by and see them downtown on University Boulevard in person or shop at their website, locker-room.biz. Look like $1 million with the Locker Room. All right, for Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Reminder, we'll have a replay of the show tonight at 10:30. You can catch it anytime at WVUA23.com. Good night, everyone.